Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Brothers Discuss. I am Alex,
And I am Chris.
and the MCU marathon continues, and we're almost at the end of Phase 1, and we've made it to Captain America, the first Avenger, released in 2011. It is our introduction of arguably the heart of the MCU, Steve Rogers, Captain America. What are your thoughts on this movie?
I really like this. I mostly like the first two-thirds of this, and then the final third is all right, but the first two-thirds is really great stuff. The first hour especially is really, really great stuff following Steve's origin, and I think this is a pretty good movie. It still holds up to
Mhm.
this day. I do prefer the other two Captain America movies, but
Yeah.
this one's still pretty good.
hmm I've had this interesting sort of journey with this film. When it first came out, I did like it quite a bit, but then after that, I started developing mixed feelings about it. For a while, I didn't think the Red Skull was. I didn't think he was a very good villain. Now I find he's a very fun villain. I mean, we'll
Yeah.
talk a little bit more about him later, but and obviously, I still have some problems with the film. The biggest problem, I guess we can go ahead and start here. Why not? Is Cap sacrifice. It's kind of,
Yeah.
I don't know.
This is a little frustrating for me because it is a very effective scene.
Mhm.
Like it does pull the heartstrings, but there is quite a bit of logic missing from it
Yeah, no, I
because
agree with that.
yeah, because there's actually a deleted scene in Endgame where Rhodey's talking to Steve and he's like, he couldn't have just jumped out of the plane before it crashed, which true. But of course,
Mm,
there's the big thing that he could have just simply turned the plane around.
yeah, there's that. But then, I mean, I get it. They need to find a way to get him
Right.
into the Avengers. But the way to do, I mean, it'd be one thing if maybe like the controls were damaged, so he had no choice but to crash it. But it was his choice of where to crash it specifically, like into the Arctic Circle or whatever it is he crashed.
Mhm.
Something like that could have worked, but that still doesn't work for me, unfortunately.
Mhm.
But with that out of the way, everything else pretty much works for me.
Yeah.
Um, now it does. It's got. I mean, there's a tremendous cast all throughout. There's really good direction by Joe Johnston.
Mhm.
The score by Alan Silvestri is just really, really great and fun, and it's beautiful. Red Skull, like I said, he's a really, really fun villain.
Yeah.
It's a shame. It is a shame that Hugo Weaving never did come back to play Red Skull.
Mhm.
Um, which was one of those funny things because like every few years he'd be asked the question like, "Are you going to come back as Red Skull?" And he would basically say the same answer. He's like, "No." There's a whole like contract thing or something to that effect. I don't really know the full reason as to why he never came back, but yeah. But there's just the main thing with this film is that there's a ton of heart to this film.
Oh yeah.
And it's all thanks to its wonderful first half.
Yeah. Yeah. The first half is really, really great stuff. Um, I guess we could talk about what was I gonna say? Oh right. The motion capture on Steve in the first half, Scrawny Steve.
Oh, Skinny Steve,
This
yes.
is I never really until recently like looked into how it was done. So my understanding is that it's a different actor with like a CGI Chris Evans face on him.
hmm
I
Yeah,
think yeah.
I think that's about right. But like, yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I will say, if there's one thing that doesn't quite hold up, it's certain shots of Skinny Steve. I
Hmm.
mean, there's some shots where it's good, like but then there's like some inconsistencies in his height. Like
Yeah.
sometimes, like he'll be shorter than Haley Atwell. Then there's other shots where he's about like the same height or even taller.
Hmm.
It's a little inconsistent, which is a bummer.
It's tough to do because you want to maintain consistency, but you also it's you can't automatically have him be big and bulky.
hmm
It wasn't easy to do. I still think it's kind of incredible the way they did it.
Yeah.
Um, Even if if it doesn't look great in every shot, I still think it was a pretty good job.
Hmm. I'll go ahead and go out on a limb and say probably next to Iron Man, this is probably the best MCU origin movie. Um, I think I'll go and make that claim right now.
Um,
And I think it's the best, and for sure, I think it's the best period piece superhero film that's ever been made.
yeah, I'm trying to think. I mean, there's not many other origin. Maybe Doctor Strange, but
Okay, no, I take that back. Doctor Strange
yeah.
is, I do love that Doctor Strange movie quite a bit.
Um, but yeah, I'd say those three would make the best
mm,
origins.
yes, for sure. Like I said, there's still a few middling issues, but it's just got such a vibrant, pulpy, and fun, like Indiana Jones style adventure.
Yeah,
And like I said, the direction by Joe Johnston, I think, perfectly channels that aesthetic.
right.
I don't know if you've ever seen The Rocketeer. That's a fantastic film of his from the early '90s.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah, I haven't seen that.
it's so good. I don't remember. Is it on Disney Plus? Hang on, I need to look this up. Disney Plus. It is a Disney movie.
Hmm.
Um, from the looks of it, it looks like it is available. Yeah, it's available on Disney Plus.
Cool, cool.
So
I'll
that's
check
my
that out
plug.
then.
That's my plug. Check out The Rocketeer on Disney Plus. It's got a very similar tone, which is quite good. I like that tone.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, and I think this film also had, for me, I think this film also has some of the best cinematography of any of the MC films that were shot on digital.
Hmm.
There's some really fantastic shots in this film.
Yeah. Especially again in the
And
first half.
mhm.
Um, so I don't know how we haven't started with this. Casting wise, Chris Evans,
Oh
I'm
yes.
I'm definitely gonna praise a lot here because he is Captain America. Like
Hmm.
there's he's so good in this role, and I I guess the only movie I don't really know what he was in before this. Scott Pilgrim, he was in that before this.
Yeah, and of course, Fantastic Four.
Oh right, right. Oh yeah, right.
He was the Human Torch.
But yeah, he's really really great as Captain America, and he holds that throughout the entire franchise. He's absolutely perfect in this role.
He
Um,
really is, and I'll be honest. It took me a while for me to fully appreciate the casting of Chris Evans as Captain America. So I always thought he was perfectly fine in the role, but I think it wasn't until The Winter Soldier where I felt he finally came into his own,
yeah.
and maybe appreciate Chris Evans even more.
Hmm.
But I think now that we're going back through this, it's easy to forget just how good he is right from the start here. Like
Uh-huh.
I think the best scene from one of the best scenes I should say. I don't know if it is my all-time favorite. It probably is though. It's very early in the movie. It's when Tommy Lee Jones throws the dummy grenade and he just I mean, I know
He yeah.
it's like a right I mean, it's in the script and everything, but the way he commits to like covering himself over the grenade, it's just like that's just perfect. Like you nailed the character of Steve Rogers right there.
Hmm. Yeah, he's really really great in this movie. And
Mm.
of course we also have Haley Atwell as Peggy Carter. She does an amazing job.
She is such a babe in this movie. I love her. I mean, I love Peggy Carter in general.
Yeah.
Um, she's just one of those characters I just really happen to like, and funnily enough, I actually quite like her. I love her one shot. That they included in Iron Man 3.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah.
that's my favorite one shot of theirs. Actually, I don't know why they don't do any more one shots, but
Mm.
of the one shots they did, I'd say Agent Carter is my favorite, and then of course she got her own TV series, which I actually like the first season quite a bit. Season
Yeah.
one's a very good season. Season
Hmm.
two, not so much. But yeah, definitely also another plug. Just check out season one of Agent Carter. I think it's very good, unlike Agents of Shield. Um,
Uh,
I'll go ahead and say this while we're on the subject of Agents of Shield. Um, I remember so the first season of Agents of Shield, I almost said shit, but it is that though. It is
Oh
that
man.
though. But anyways, when that first season ended in 2014, it was like right when it was the time of Winter Soldier. I thought to myself, I think instead of doing a second season of Agents of Shield, why not just make the second season an Agent Carter season, so that way you see the origins of Shield.
Yeah.
I thought that would have been interesting, but I think we got not really the best of both worlds because we still got Agents of Shield at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But then eventually we did get the Agent Carter series, which is,
As its
like
own
I said,
show, which
yeah,
it was nice. And I agree. I do like the first season and second season. I don't really remember much from the second season, being honest, but I definitely didn't enjoy it as much as the first season.
yeah.
But yeah, I think Haley Atwell is really great. Mrs. Rowland. It's nice to see that she actually comes back quite a bit in the franchise.
Yeah,
She comes back
it's
in
a
Winter Soldier, Age of Ultron,
Ant-Man.
Ant-Man. That's right. I forgot about that. And Endgame as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Um,
it's always a pleasant surprise whenever she pops up.
yeah.
It's like, oh, yes, they brought her back.
Uh,
But I think, without a doubt, the first Avengers' most admirable component is its unflinching portrayal of a paragon hero. I mean, the script doesn't try to make him super flawed or an asshole to relate to a modern audience. They
Right.
instead key into how great of a guy Steve Rogers is. And, we get interesting character building through that.
mhm.
Captain America doesn't have a big character arc in any of these movies because the key to him being a hero is that he doesn't change, because
Right.
that deep down, it's vitally important that he is still that good-hearted, skinny dork from Brooklyn.
Yeah.
And the film makes that the central focus. It's very clear.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's how he is. Like, I remember there was an interview with Joe and Anthony Russo back when the Winter Soldier came out, and they were talking about how growing up they actually weren't that big of Captain America fans just because he's so like stationary with his character.
Mm-hmm.
Like, but so they kind of use that to their advantage in the Winter Soldier, and but yeah, I think it works for that character because I mean he is supposed to be this amazing symbol, and his character I think that kind of works, having him we're not really giving it. Well, he does have like arcs, but like
Sure.
it's his character at the end of the day is still Captain America forever. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. He's still a good person at the end of the day. I mean, much
Right.
like how, it's why Stanley Tucci's character, I forget his name, chose Steve Rogers in the first place, because he is a good man.
Right. And that that theme of like not a perfect soldier but a good man, it subtly has a large role to play in Falcon and Winter Soldier. Great
Yes,
show, by
exactly.
the way.
Yeah, I think by the time this comes out, the final episode will be out, so we don't know how it ends yet.
Yeah. That'll be exciting. While we're on that, Sebastian Stan is Bucky Barnes, another great choice. Yeah.
It's funny because I mean, we'll talk a little bit more about this when we get to the Winter Soldier. I think it's kind of interesting to me how people like Sebastian Stan, like not necessarily Bucky the character, but Sebastian Stan just from this movie. Because I didn't think, my biggest fear with the Winter Soldier was that by the time they did the reveal that the Winter Soldier is Bucky, spoilers, I didn't think people were going to recognize him, because I mean, no disrespect to Sebastian Stan or anything like that, but he's got a very generic, like, good-looking face. But I don't think he particularly stands out in terms of like having like a really recognizable face. And I say this as someone that does heavily resemble Sebastian Stan.
Yeah.
But I think it's cool that people were still legitimately surprised at the reveal in the next film, the next Captain America film.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll talk a lot more about that because I do have some good stories of the Winter Soldier that I'll gladly share.
Yeah, I think He's great as Bucky Barnes. He's great in this movie. Bucky's a real charming character in this
He
movie.
is,
He's
but I will
very fun
say
to
though,
watch.
I will say if there is a criticism that I have with, I don't know whether to pin this on this movie or the Winter Soldier. And don't get me wrong, I'll go and say this right out of the gate. Winter Soldier is my favorite MCU movie,
Mm.
but I think what could have made the reveal, I guess, resonate or make it even more powerful, if you will, is if there was more time dedicated to Steve and Bucky's friendship in this film.
Yeah,
And I know they try to do that in the Winter Soldier with that new flashback where we get more skinny
yeah,
Steve.
right. But
Um,
that was after the reveal, though.
yeah,
So
exactly. Yeah, there is that. But in this film, he doesn't do a whole lot. You
yeah,
see, they have a friendship at the start. He gets captured
he
later
saves
on.
him. They have a montage.
There's a montage. Yeah, the montage. Well, I'll get to the montage in a bit, but and then he dies basically, but not
Yeah,
really. Um, so yeah, I guess maybe there in this film there could have been a little more time dedicated on their friendship to make both not just the reveal in the Winter Soldier, but also his death. Or I say that in quotation marks, of course.
personally, I don't know why they felt like they had to throw him out so quickly. Like, you could have
Yeah,
probably rewritten it and have him like stay around for the third act and maybe like join Steve in the plane and he
maybe he falls out
falls
of the
out.
plane at some
Yeah,
point.
yeah. I
I
feel
think
like
that's what happens in the Earth's Mightiest Heroes cartoon. Am I right?
yeah, that is what's happened. Yeah. Um.
Oh, that's such a good show.
Oh yeah. Great stuff.
Which is also available on Disney Plus. So another plug: check out Avengers: Earth's Mightiest Heroes. That's a really good show.
Hmm. Connected to Spectacular Spider-Man, another fantastic show.
Well,
That's not on
that
Disney
may
Plus
be
though.
debatable. Well, that may be debatable because unfortunately they when they did the Spider-Man crossover, it was they replaced Josh Keaton with Drake Bell from Ultimate Spider-Man, which is just a awful, awful cartoon. I don't recommend Ultimate Spider-Man. But it is connected to Wolverine the X-Men, which is it's a pretty good show. I don't
Yeah.
think it's the best X-Men series by any means, but it's good.
Yeah.
But anyways, with the first Avenger, um, other casting, I'll go ahead and say this right now. I am happy, like very happy that Tommy Lee Jones has a role in the MCU. He never comes back, unfortunately. I mean, you do see a picture of him in The Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
That's about it. But he's so good, and I mean, he's good in pretty much everything he does. I
Hmm.
don't know if there's a single. Well, I take that back. There is
Don't
a
you're
performance
gonna
where
say
he
Two-Face, aren't you?
I'm gonna say where he phones it in. It's Two-Face.
He's still
As
fun
much
to
as I
watch. I mean,
love,
even though he did not have a good time filming that, it's still fun to
yeah,
watch.
no. As much as I do legitimately love Batman Forever, I will admit I think the weakest part of the film is Two-Face. Um, yeah, which is unfortunate because it's Tommy Lee Jones. I love Tommy Lee Jones.
Yeah.
TLJ is great. And by that I mean both Tommy Lee Jones and The Last Jedi. That's a discussion for another time. Um, but yeah, Hugo Weaving as the Red Skull. Like I alluded to earlier, he is super fun. And again, this was another one of those things where for a while, I didn't think Red Skull was that particularly interesting of a villain. But then that's when it sort of dawned on me that he didn't really need to be because, this movie commits to Captain America being like the ultimate good guy. So
Yeah.
in order to have a good villain to that character, you need someone that's just pure evil. And the Red Skull is that.
Right. And
And
yeah,
man, he is so much fun.
it is very, when I say comically written, I'm saying like it feels like it could be pulled straight out of a comic, and that was kind of the point.
Exactly. Yeah.
He's supposed to be the more like evil villain, like your typical evil bad guy that wants to rule the world, and it works for this movie. And that's a villain that always comes back in the MCU, the just villain that wants nothing but to rule the world. But this is one of the times where I think that actually works. Um, yeah.
I'll go ahead and say that I think Red Skull coming back in Infinity War and Endgame is just the best possible way to bring him back. Because I remember there's a point where the Russo brothers were talking about the Winter Soldier. They were very close to making Alexander Pierce, Robert Redford's character, the Red Skull.
Mm.
And I'm glad they didn't. But the reason they give is actually kind of amusing, where they're like, we already established in this film that we had a guy come back in a computer. Like, it would be an even bigger stretch to have the Red Skull come back.
Yeah.
As well. Speaking of Zola, I love Zola in this movie.
Oh yeah.
He's one of my favorite things about this film. I love Tubby Jones.
Yeah.
He's another one of those actors that I've just got time for, whether it's, him playing Hitchcock or Dobby, or my personal favorite, Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. That's my favorite Tubby Jones film.
Mm.
But yeah, he's just so good in this film. He's not like a main antagonist by any means, but he's just a fun character to watch.
Yeah. And I like his reveal in the movie where it looks like he's the computer Zola at first, and
nod.
then it pans over to him, which I thought was
the little
nice.
nod in the comics.
Yeah.
And they do a similar thing with Red Skull in this film with with the whole, like, him being the guy doing the painting of the Red Skull, where you briefly see his face. It's very quick. But the big giveaway is that the artist is using red paint.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, that's cool. That's a nice little touch.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all well and good. Anything else you want to say about this film?
I guess we'll talk about the ending.
Sure.
Where Steve wakes up and it's 70 years later.
Mm-hmm.
Even though it does fall through with it is coming straight after the sacrifice that's kind of missing some logic. But again, you have to throw him back into the modern world somehow. And I do actually like this scene. When he wakes up and he starts freaking out, and a clever way is, him recognizing a game he went to, and then seeing him walk out in Times Square, and it's all modern, and it's really nice because you're so used to this period piece, and then straight up, like out of nowhere, you're in the modern world, just like that's exactly what Steve's feeling. He just got thrown into this new world. And then Nick Fury shows up, and then it cuts to black, and very nice scene, I thought.
Yep, and it ends with him saying that he had a date, which, of course, that gets paid off at the end of the Infinite. Well, I consider Endgame the end of the Infinity Saga. I care about.
I think everyone
Far
does.
From Home.
Even the people, even the people that like do genuinely like Far From Home, like. I still think it is kind of universally agreed that Endgame is the ending of the Infinity Saga.
It's called Endgame. Like, come on, it's in the name.
But it's like Far From Home teases more than it ends. So I don't see that as an ending. It's just convenient timing. That's the whole reason. It's kind of like the same reason why Age of Ultron's the ending of, or not the ending of Phase 2, and Ant-Man's the ending of Phase 2. It's just because it was released around the same time. So
yeah, it still is interesting to me that Ant-Man was the end of Phase 2.
Yeah,
but oh well.
And then the post-credit scene is the teaser for the Avengers.
Oh my goodness, I remember. I was so excited. I was not expecting to see this when I first saw this movie in theaters. I basically let out the Prometheus scream. It was intense. This is really cool. It reminds me a lot of Back to the Future Part 2 in a way, where it had the teaser for the third film. So it's like, oh, that's so cool.
Alan Silvestri did the score for both films.
That is also true. Yes. It's kind of funny that none of the other MC movies have really done that. Like I'll be honest, I was half expecting Guardians of the Galaxy's post-credit scene to be the teaser for Age of Ultron.
Mm-hmm.
But it turned out to be something much better than that.
They sometimes like, I guess the closest example is the post-credit scene for Ant-Man, where it's literally just the scene pulled out of Civil War.
That is true.
Yeah, that's probably.
But it's not like it's a full
example.
on teaser of the film.
No, yeah. But
this is cool.
That was a really nice, really awesome post-credit scene. Very awesome tease.
Mm-hmm.
What's next?
Exactly. What's next is, of course, the Avengers. But before we get to that, anything else you want to say about the first Avenger?
I think I got everything out.
Yeah. I mean, this is just, it's such a sincere and pulpy and comic booky film. And it has a goddamn Alan Menken musical sequence. Like, how did I forget how good this is? Like, oh, man. I love that, the Star Spangled Man.
Yeah,
that's a good song. Like, I'd see that on Broadway. They even went to Buffalo at one point, which is cool.
That's awesome.
And Milwaukee. All right. So, what is your grade on the first Avenger?
Ooh, that's actually pretty tough. That's actually really tough. Hold up. Oh man. I'm torn between a 7 or an 8.
Yeah, I'm exactly the same way. But I think right now, talking about this, I'm liking it even more. So I'm going to go with an 8.
I might go with a 7. Yeah, okay. I'll go with a 7.
Yeah, 7 or 8 for me. It might depend on, it might change, but as of right now, yeah, 8 at the most.
Mm-hmm.
I still have some issues with it, which brings it down a notch, but as a whole, I just really enjoy it.
Yeah.
I'll even say, I think the Captain America franchise of the MCU, I think it's the only franchise in the MCU where I actually genuinely like every single film.
Yeah, it's consistently the best.
Yes. Because, as much as I like the Avengers films, Age of Ultron is the one that brings it down.
That's gonna be a fun discussion because Age
of Ultron would be interesting.
I'm a pretty big Age of Ultron shill.
All right. Yeah, that will be an interesting discussion later.
Yeah.
No, take that back. We have the Guardians movie. So far, they've been very good as well. I mean, hopefully the third one knocks it out of the park.
I'm sure it will.
Mm-hmm.
Now that James Gunn's back,
I trust James Gunn. Any other franchise that had consistently good movies? I mean, not counting like the standalone films like Black Panther.
Right, yeah.
As much as we think Black Panther is, and same with Doctor Strange, even though they are getting sequels, we
still need to see more of them.
Mm-hmm. So I think Doctor Strange is still. I mean, both Doctor Strange and Black Panther, as far as I'm concerned, are still in good hands.
Yeah.
Because we still have Ryan Coogler handling Black Panther 2, which I am genuinely curious what they're going to do with that film.
My theory is it's going to be with Shuri because she did become Black Panther at a point in the comics.
That is true, but my thing is, how are they going to acknowledge the very real death of Chadwick Boseman?
That's going to be the big mystery.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's so weird because ideally, it would just be an off-screen death, but his name is just so big in this franchise.
I mean,
you could just throw under the rug.
I mean, it's one of those things where I think the prime example of how to pull off a real life death in a franchise, I think the gold one for me will always be Star Trek Beyond's handling of Spock.
Yeah.
With Leonard Nimoy, I think that was appropriately handled. I would say. I didn't find it offensive or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
So
I definitely wouldn't recommend going the Leia route and
just using unused footage.
Yeah, don't do that. Because then you have to center your script around that.
Yeah, and then don't do that. Don't do that, Marvel. I'm sure Kevin Feige and Ryan Coogler are much smarter than that.
Right.
But then, Doctor Strange, we have Sam Raimi, God himself,
the legend.
He is doing the sequel to Doctor Strange, which I'll go and say right now. Yeah, I'll go and say right now, of the MCU movies that have yet to be released, my most anticipated is the Doctor Strange sequel.
I'm right there with you.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess that about wraps it up for First Avenger. I think that's all we have to say about it. I quite like it quite a bit. It's a good start to this character arc, and this journey, this fantastic journey.
Hmm.
And I'll say I think Captain America is one of the best characters in the MCU, and I think he gets progressively better with each installment.
Hmm.
Though I will say I think he reaches his peak with Winter Soldier, but he's still really good after that.
Yeah.
What's great is that he's just the character that we just need. I mean, even now that Chris Evans is done with Captain America, it's like we kind of need him now more than ever. But
Right. Yeah.
well, but yeah, good start to the Captain America character. So next up will of course be on the finale of Phase 1, the Avengers. So we'll see you then. Take care, everyone. Bye.